Can meditation be the key to finding lasting peace and happiness in your life?
On today's show, we're going to be talking to masters of meditation, Michael Post and Alice Sinohui, as they share their knowledge and experience with finding peace through meditation.
Welcome, everybody, to the Manifestation Mindset. We are your hosts. I'm Dr. Aaron Garcia.
And I'm Veronica Mendez Garcia. And we go live every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific. And if you'd like to subscribe to our show, you click the subscribe button and also click a like
If you enjoyed this video.
If you enjoy the video, and also click on the bell icon to receive notifications of when we go live.
So we are going to have our very special guest, Michael Post and Alice Sinohui, join us in just a moment here with you guys. And we're talking about meditation today. Before we bring them on, we're going to bring a quote from one of our greatest teachers, from Paramahansa Yogananda.
Well, I'm going to read a little, it's a piece of his book. It's called Journey to Self-Realization by Paramahansa Yogananda. And this is volume 3. There's the book right there. And if you look at his face, he looks like he's just so in that zone of like peace. Okay, and this, the title of this section is called Success Means to Create at Will What You Need. It says, the typical concept of success focuses on having a lot of money, but real success means to have the power to create at will what you need, the power to acquire those things that are truly necessary for your absolute existence and happiness. It is important, therefore, to understand in what lies real necessity, to know the difference between needs and wants. And the perception of needs is boiled down, then the necessities for a happy life can be easily met. So, do we really need an 80-inch screen TV? No.
Absolutely. We absolutely need an 80-inch screen TV. It's one of the big debates that we have here in the household. What do you guys think? Type that here into the comment feed. Christmas is coming up. What are we going to manifest today? So we're going to bring our special guest on for you guys here today. I hope you guys are excited. You guys, if you're joining us live, type in your comments. Let us know that you're here. If you're new, love to hear from you guys. If you have questions, put those here into the comment feed as well. We'd love to hear from you guys and ask away. So let's introduce our guest for today.
All right, so the first person I'm going to introduce is Michael Post, and he is a vibrational healer and self-realization coach with 15 plus years of practice in the development of the inner spirit through deep meditation. Michael guides others to self-love and self-acceptance, and using meditation as a tool, not just cope, but thrive. And Alice Sinohui is a cancer survivor and survivor of abuse. The ancient tool of meditation has given her the strong foundation needed to help others. She brings with her a huge heart filled with love and dedication to all those seeking a more genuine life. As Michael and Alice work diligently within themselves to bring the most authentic self to each student, they share their life path with much love, respect, transparency, and dedication as they jointly write and organize curriculum to bring simple approach for everyone to comprehend. Now let's welcome to the show Michael Post and Alice Sinohui.
Hey guys, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
So this is really for you guys. This is for us. This is like a part 2 take, because we had the opportunity to speak with Michael and Alice earlier during this week, but we had some technical issues.
It was just the warm-up.
It was just the warm-up. It was the dress rehearsal. And so, but we find that, sometimes we're going to have something that even greater come out of this today for you guys. And we hope you guys have questions. Make sure you put those here into the comment. But you guys have an interesting background. And I'll start with you, Michael. I kind of resonate a little bit of not really growing up in this realm of spirituality and meditation. It's not something I really found until at least a few years ago for myself. But for you, what brought you into meditation from certain upbringings? I know that you've dealt with from drug abuse to being incarcerated. Like how do you make that transition to what you're doing today?
Well, first of all, thank you. The one thing is,
kind of funny because my background was my greatest teacher, more than the books that I read and everything that I found later in life. Because what I realized, oh, I'm not able to hear myself. Okay. One thing is I realized is that throughout my life, I had a mantra that I would say, no pain, no gain. And what I did is I programmed my body not to feel a thing. So I went through life not feeling. But what I didn't realize that, not feeling the pain, the sensation. And what I didn't realize at the time that I realized later, that I was so powerful for my body, to do what I had to do. And I was manifesting before I knew about that. And so what I realized, by closing off the joy of pain, closed off the joy of. So when I found that, and it was really a funny story, which I'm not going to go into too much detail. But there was one experience that I didn't share the last. Is more important. Is when I was locked up in a cell, I was bored, and I was looking at the wall, and I focused on the dot. And when I focused on that dot, I realized how free I was. I was experiencing the universe, not even feeling it. And came to, I was like I didn't do any drugs. I couldn't explain it, and because I couldn't explain it, I was afraid of it. I ran from it. And when I consciously, the practice of meditation, I started opening up, and it wasn't easy because all the things that I believe, all the things that I have others to influence, it was the most challenging thing to do. And I had to get so sick and tired of being sick and tired, and such in a place where I was so down that I was willing to do whatever it took. And when I went into, my own intimate space, it was like facing a monster. And the reason why I share this is not to scare people, but when I realized that I didn't know what I didn't know, and later on I found the truth of that, is I realized that the suffering, the pain, and everything that I lived through, it was what made me thirsty. It was made me hungry. And what I desire is for others not to wait till they get thirsty and hungry to open up such a simple practice within them. And when I was locked up in this situation, I was watching What the Bleep Do We Know? And they said, they were talking about how thoughts affect water. And if you've never seen it, I highly recommend go watching it. But our thoughts literally affect the structure of water. And when we realize that we are 75, 80% water, every time we think, we're affecting the structure of ourself. We're creating ourselves. We're manifesting ourselves into existence. So, in short, when we realize we're all meditating, is what are you meditating on? So when I rewired the structures of the water within me, I really got this huge blessing that all this time I was blaming others, the government, my mom and my dad, and all these different reasons of, why I was so miserable, why, everybody betrayed me everywhere I went, which thank you every single one of you, because you did me a greater blessing that I can ever ask for. So all these different people and things that I would blame was really my greatest blessing. So when I opened up to that, the judgment fell away, the critic fell away, the separateness fell away, and the confusion just started becoming more clear, and the awareness started birthing, from this beautiful place within. And it's just been a blessing ever since. And the last thing that I desire to say on that part is when we find the simplicity of meditation, it it dissolves the complexity because it's really simple. And we're already doing it. Every one of the viewers here meditate. Even if you don't know what meditation is, you're meditating your life into existence. What you think, talking about manifestation, you're manifesting your life into existence.
It's interesting. You're talking about the water, and it reminds me of a book that was written by Dr. Emoto, which is called Many Messages in Water. And he actually did the research on this, and we have it here in our shelves. And he shows you what our thoughts, our words actually do to the water crystals in different parts of the world. So it's very fascinating that movie, the What the Bleep Do You Know? Now, we haven't seen it, but we've heard of it.
I
But
think I've seen it years ago, but I want to watch it again now.
It's very simple.
hmm So, my question for you, so did you stumble upon meditation was that like the first, I guess, aha moment that you had by focusing on that dot when you were incarcerated? Did you kind of stumble upon it and want to dive deeper into that?
That's a great question. The first time I found this nirvana of meditation was when I was pronounced dead. And I mean, I'm not going to give the background to it but I was in a place where I was against everything, and I seen everything, bad and evil, and I thought that I was one of the worst evil people in the world. And I was my worst enemy. And when I had this near death, well, they call it near death experience, but it was an experience. It was an invitation that the soul within me was saying, opening up a peek into what meditation is. And when I had this experience, I remember it felt like a blanket was over me, and the brain, I felt so much pressure and weight that I felt like I was going to go crazy, but the brain surrendered and it just disappeared. And when I felt like I was blanketed by this beautiful blanket of love, I mean, I can't even describe it with words, but it's the closest thing of just like peace and joy all at the same time. When that brain disappeared, it was like I didn't know where I was and where the blanket was. I was everything. And when I experienced it, I was like, wow. And I ran from it because when I came to, I was like, there's something I couldn't explain. So I ran away from it. And when I started meditating, now I experience more of that inside, because it's like, it's the greatest blessing that we're given to really let go and be reborn to who we were meant to be,
wow,
who we are.
yeah. And for you, Alice, you have like your own story as well. It's kind of like I see a bit of us and you guys at times, because it's like we all go through this path. Michael, you're going through your path in your own way, and this to come to this point. Alice, you've also come to your own story. So we're like playing the movie now. We got Michael's background story. Now we got to learn a little more about Alice, and then we're gonna combine those two and how you guys brought this together. So for you, Alice, and we've had this conversation that this is a completely different aspect for you in your upbringing. What was that like for you?
Yes. Well, I was brought up Catholic. At the age of 15, I converted over to Christianity and got married at 16. And when that happened, I went into this bubble, if you will, of a certain belief, but I knew something inside was telling me there's more, there's something different. And for 35 years, I continued in Christianity. And I mean, I have nothing against it. It was just misunderstood when there's a lot of fear-based type of doctrine. So when I meet Michael at, we had a mutual friend that had written a book, invited us to a book signing party. I was there in a whole independent, different subject. And when I get there and I hear him talking to other people about meditation, and I joined the conversation, I just thought, this is what I was thinking, but I didn't know what word to put to it, because in the Christian background that I come from, you don't even meditate. It's not it's not welcomed, even though they don't understand that we do it even as we pray or as we're washing dishes. Sometimes we're meditating, we're in our zone. Someone comes up behind you, oh, what, you get scared. So my back, yeah, has that happened to you before? My background is just mostly based on the Christianity, but in my heart, I knew there was something more.
And so when you first met Michael and you were learning about that, and the first time, or well, we know that we meditate while we're doing other things, but when you intentionally meditated, how was that experience? Was it easy, or did you just like flow into it?
In the beginning, it was easy for me because I really had that hunger to experience what I had always was there. I don't know how to do that very well, but it's when you're praying, but there's something deeper, a deeper connection, and I just couldn't put my finger on it. So originally, it was fairly easy for me to step into that because as a child, I practiced a lot of silence and stillness, which I didn't know that's what it was. I would just go into my own little place and cover my ears, close my eyes. I didn't want to hear any noise, but that's what I was practicing. It just didn't have a name.
Yes.
So Michael came into my life and put a name on it. And then I'm like, oh, I recognize this feeling. I've been here before. I've done this. I just thought I was crazy. Or someone thought if I told people that I just sit there in silence and I enjoy just going to this vast place, they're probably thinking, whoa, she's, something's wrong with her. So I wouldn't mention it. Right. But then little by little, I started to practice more where how do I keep that silence? How do I work with the thoughts? Because that's where I was imprisoned. And Michael speaks about the prison and what he was in physically and mentally, of course, right? Because it took him there. But I was in a mental prison, believing that my life had no other outcome but abuse.
No outdate.
And it's interesting you say that because I know there's a lot of people that might be able to relate to that story. And how many people are in these mental prisons? They are full of suffering from low self-esteem to not thinking that they're good enough to, all kinds of things. People are inflicting pain. You see right now, suicide rates are really high, especially in this time of COVID. And people feel like that there is no hope. And these mental prisons are really our own prisons that we put ourselves into. And I have found just in my experience through our own meditation practices and over the years, and yeah, I mean when I first started too, it was like a little weird. I couldn't do it. Like 5 minutes was like it was too much for me. I was so like I have to be doing something. I felt like I was wasting my time. But over time, I got from 5 minutes to 10 minutes because I was able to focus better. And I found that I was creating more peace in my life. And when that peace comes, and this is from my experience, it's like better things started to happen in my life because I was less stressed. My worry about things just like decreased dramatically. But I feel that is a power what meditation can do for most people, and I know that's what it's done for you, and seeing how it's transformed your lives, and I know it can be transformed for all, many others as well. Yeah.
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 One thing I desire to add, as you're mentioning about how people are stressed and how they're coping with life right now, what we facilitate here at Samadhi is really the awareness that you have this brain and you have all these thoughts, and we work with that first. We do our best to help them understand why these thoughts come and how to speak to yourself, how to love yourself. So then you can sit with yourself. See, because in meditation, a lot of people don't want to really sit with themselves. Sometimes if those thoughts that come are not very favorable, some can say, oh, I have laundry to do, I have work to do. Those are fine. But some people who are really dealing with a lot of trauma, in my case, I came from a lot of trauma, from a lot of physical, sexual abuse as a child, physical abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse. So all these things that could come into my mind, that is what was holding me prisoner. So when I know how to deal, how to focus, how to embrace that those thoughts are not here to really hurt me, they're just reminding me, okay, That's where you came from. This is what you're dealing with. Now you can let that go. It's in the past, and we'll transition to living here in the moment and being able to sit still with yourself and who you are and face yourself. So there's a variety, of course, different levels of meditation. But here, what we love to remind you is that you are able to not cope. What is the word, sweetheart?
Thrive.
To be able to thrive and know that your thoughts are not you. And that's a little deeper. So I'll stop
Because we're
there.
such in
I'll stop
survival
there.
mode.
Yes.
We're such in survival mode that we haven't been given ourselves the gift to thrive, because nobody can give us that gift. It is our gift.
Yeah.
And you know, the beauty of your experience that you had, you know, where a lot of people look at it as like something horrible. You know, in the moment, it doesn't feel good, and but you have that experience to be able to help others who are coming from that similar background. So people who are on drugs or have been to prison or abused, and you've had that before, and you know what it's like. So you know you were there before. You know how to get into that peaceful state of mind and transition and thrive, like you mentioned.
Yes.
And
And Karen had said, well, Michael has his story, Alice has her story. And when we bring that together, and Veronica, that is why Michael and I decided to do this. I don't want to say stumbled just upon it, because Michael had been working on this for so many years before I came along. But the reason why is because we both, when we had shared that and he helped me through the transition of how to meditate, it was very painful. It was painful for me. It was very challenging. I never thought no psychiatrist or pastor or priest would ever be able to help me get rid of shame, fear, doubt, self-hate, really. And Michael, through meditation, was able to do something with that technique, with that tool, that nobody else could ever do before in my life. And I never was on any kind of medication or anything that had to do with mental crisis or mental illness. I could function. I mean, I did a lot of things, ran my businesses and volunteered in my church, but inside I was dying. I was putting on a mask, if you will, of falseness, but inside it was just crumbling. So if Michael and I, now he went to actual prison and he was in gangs and drugs, that was a different kind of world that people may see as dark.
Yeah.
So when two people come together like that and are able to let go of that life and move forward, then anybody can do it. It just takes practice. It does take practice and self-love.
Oh, I love that. You know, before we continue, so we're going to get even deeper into this. So I want to say hello to a few people that have been joining with us here live on the video. We have Gil Solis who's joined us. He says,
Hey,
greetings
Gil.
he's coming from Coachella Valley. You're watching us
Awesome.
here live on YouTube. And whether you're watching us live, if you would like to have a comment, you have a question for Michael and Alice or ourselves, make sure you put those here into the comments. If you're watching this on the replay video, you have a comment, make sure you drop your comments here into the feed. We'd love to hear from you, what your experience has been with this. And we're going to keep on going here in the show. And so you talked about learning the steps of meditation once he taught you these techniques. For somebody who might be in that place right now, in shame and guilt and fear, worry, anger, whatever that might be, and they've heard about meditation. Yeah, they've heard it could be good, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know where to start. There's so many different forms of meditation, from guided meditations to sitting still meditations. What's a simple place that somebody could start today to help them go through a similar journey as you guys have shared with us?
One thing I would like to share, and it's going to kind of coincide because, yeah, we come from different backgrounds, but, you know, just because Ali didn't do drugs, she can help the drug addict, because it's like everything is interconnected. And whatever your story is, like, you can find the truth. You are the truth. So one thing I would like to share about meditation is that for the first time person watching this, is to realize you already are using the most powerful tool. So once you realize you're already doing it, now it's just flipping the switch of the attention that you've been giving it. So for example, let go of the shame and the feeling that, you're not strong enough, you're not resilient enough to do the meditation. Because, without sounding judgmental, we come from a background of education that we're taught what to think all our lives. And then our parents do the same, our society does the same. So we're experts at what to think. But we have very little illumination on how to think. And the skill on how to think is one of the most fundamental, talking about manifestation, is one of the most foundational aspects of life. So the reason why we feel shame or guilt or worthlessness, why we can't sit in meditation, first realize it's not you're born in a conditioned society. So first of all, let go of that weight. Like, go into meditation knowing that, like your computer. Your computer is only going to do what you ask it to do. So the brain is respond or react to what you've asked it to do or what you've believed others' beliefs on you. So when you go into meditation, it's not trying to will or make something happen. That's something that affects the meditation to literally go more into chaos, more into heaviness in density. And that's why it feels like we're not good at meditating. So the first thing to do is, when you go into meditation, realize that it's more of a surrender, more of a letting go, because you can't will yourself to meditate. We've been willing ourselves in meditation, and that's why we become so experts at not surrendering.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, and those who might have practiced meditation, because I know we've been practicing for a few years, and there's times that we were really diligent with it, and there's times we're off and get back on it. And I've noticed that experience where there's times where it just didn't flow naturally, and it's just trying to make something happen. I'm trying to gain an experience of some sort, and it was that forcing rather than just relaxing into it.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're referring to. So I think that's a great thing for someone who's just beginning is just when you're just feeling, just feel. And I think that's what the biggest thing, and even our work that Veronica and I do, is that we teach people how to feel again, because we get so disconnected to our own thoughts, our own emotions. And what happens is when we disconnect from that, it's still there, it's just in the background, and it manifests. And it starts to manifest in our physical body, because our body is that emotional filter. And I've noticed when I've had even like stuff show up in me, like what's going on in my thoughts. Meditation has definitely helped release a lot of that.
Yeah, because it's like sometimes people will start to dwell on things, and it's so easy out of habit to dwell on things that are going wrong or things that aren't there that you would like, and just the mind can really get so caught up in all of that, and meditation really helps you to be more centered and find that peace within. And so my question for both of you, did you learn meditation through like someone, or it was just your experience just on your own?
Just pause. I want to pause just before we go, because Gil was saying that he can't hear us for some reason. So I'm
I was
wondering
going to
Yeah.
say, yeah.
if our microphones
I
on.
wouldn't
Answer that question. Answer that question while we fix our audio, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so for those of you that can't hear, Veronica asked us, and that was a beautiful question, is did we have a teacher? How did we, when we started meditation, like, how did we start? Did we find a teacher? Did we do this on our own? And you already know her response, because that's how we met. On my part, is I did a lot of studying in the beginning about the world out there. So to give a little background, is when I went to prison, I looked at it like my university, and I even told the judge, I said, "You think you're going to lock me up, and I'm going to just become just do my time?" I said, "I'm going to study you guys. I'm going to study the government, and I'm going to become a greater criminal. That this is why I'm my university." So when I started studying the government and started studying the world and how it operates, that's when I really got into meditation, because like I said, when that video that I watched from What the Bleep Do We Know, it was like I realized that the more that I studied things, to find the truth, the more I was getting angrier. And this is like why I can honestly say, no matter what's going on, you can find peace and joy. Because I found so much ugliness, and I mean, let me just say, there's just so much. And when I got deeper into that, I realized the more knowledge that I'm accumulating, the more angry I'm becoming. So I'm trying to get better so I can, be a better criminal. But I realized that I was killing myself because I was becoming angrier and I felt this, right? So then I started realizing, okay, how can I help that? So then I wanted to change that. So then I started investigating myself instead of investigating the outside. And when I started investigating the inside, it was a game changer. And, I did have several different schools of thought that I've studied. I've studied quantum. I've studied, metaphysics. I've studied, different schools of enlightenment, of, spirituality. And before I go on about that, I realized that the deepest truth that I've realized is that we've all been studying spirituality. There's no separate spirituality from you. No matter where you come from, no matter what you do, it's just realigning to use the gifts of spirituality that's manifesting as you. Because you are spiritual. You can't be more spiritual. You can't awaken more spiritual. You can only surrender to what you already are. So, in a nutshell, that's when I came across my wife, and I studied so much. But this is the next aspect: is I lived very little. I had a head full of information, but I had very little practice. And that's why no matter how much knowledge I accumulated, I became my worst enemy. Even then, I started becoming my worst enemy because I was like, it was a fantasy, it was a dream, it was a hope. One day I was going to be more peaceful. One day I was going to be more joyful. One day I was going to, live this life. And when I ran cross paths with my wife at the time, she started telling me, "Why don't you live what you teach?" And I was like, "Oh shoot, that hit." It was like egoic, right? Hit the ego.
It's like, ooh, right there.
Yeah, right there. And I literally wanted to just run away, but she loves so much. There's one thing I want to tell the viewers is she's always had so much love, so much compassion, so much patience, so much peace for others, but she never gave it to herself. She always had the power within her. And until she gifted it back to her, how many of you are helping people wanting to, do so much good, but then you don't feel good enough? You don't feel loved enough. So that's the one thing that I want to share from my wife's story is no matter how much you do in the world, at the end of the day, you got to close your own eyes and you're going to have to face yourself. So whether you want to face yourself consciously, you're going to face yourself. So if you're going to face yourself unconsciously and not being able to sleep, wondering why, things don't work the way that you want them, I'm talking about manifestation, wondering why you feel so empty no matter what you have, no matter what you've done, no matter how many people you've helped, feeling so empty, you're manifesting that because you've forgotten about you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I believe we should be finally live here on our audio. I'm going to have Gil
Let
on.
me turn it up here.
Gil, you let us know if you can hear us now, but I think what happened, I think I had the wrong mute button on, and so that's probably what happened. But, yep, we're good.
Yeah.
I knew it happened. Just a little technical difficulties. I got all these buttons here I'm pressing right now, and I pressed the wrong button.
All tech stuff.
But yeah, it's fascinating because there's a lot of people that have a hard time facing themselves. And we've done this with many people in our work that we do with them is sometimes with mirror work, and we'll say, okay, well, let's go deeper into what's going on in your life. And just to get them to look into a mirror, they can't do it. I had a hard time with that for a while. Just to be able to look at yourself in the eyes and see what happens. It's a good test to find out, are you hiding from something in yourself? Because you look in that mirror and you can't even stare yourself in the eyes for more than a couple seconds. And you have to look away like to distract yourself. That's telling you something, that there's some inner work that needs to be done. And don't get me wrong, we all have inner work that needs to be done. This is what personal growth, development, spirituality, it never ends. Meditation isn't something that you get your certificate in and you're good to go. You don't have to do it again. just like anything else. And so, but it's very important for all of us to face ourselves. And in our experience, when we've had people come and say they've had these spiritual awakenings, they see things and they have a hard time with it. It's as if all of that internal stuff that's been buried and bottled up for so many years has just now all come to the surface all at once. And having to deal with all these different past traumas that have show up all at the same time can be very overwhelming for people. And but when it goes, when you go through it and you heal, like the bliss that comes from it is fantastic.
One,
Yes. Oh, take it from here. You know, you just word, the word was that because I this now what 6 years, so maybe going on 7 years. And in the beginning, when you asked Alice, how did you do this? You know, intentionally now that you're meditating, and it was easier, right? Because I was just starting, and it felt familiar from something I felt from before as a young child. But then as you start meditating and you start sitting with yourself and you start facing that mirror internally, right? When you look at yourself and you're like, well, how did I get here? What did I do? Or, oh, I shouldn't have done that in my life. What was I doing? I didn't know any better, obviously. But as time progresses, this is a journey that is continuous, right? So meditation for us is a tool, but it's also your life when you know how to thrive when you come out of that meditation. People go into meditation, see these beautiful things or feel these beautiful things, or things they're going to go and experience this nirvana that, oh, I'm going to do all this. And then when they come out into the real world, now what do I do? What do I do with that that's staring back at me? And what we do here at Samadhi is help you to, excuse me, help you how to see that and not seeing it as a bad thing. It's just tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, you need to wake up, because whatever it is that's facing you is telling you what's inside of you that you need to work on. And it is a step by step. It takes, I mean, there's ups and there's downs like in everything, but meditation really does help. In my personal experience and in my opinion, it was the only thing, and I'm not exaggerating, I really am not, that helped me come out of that mental prison. I was so, if you want to call it brainwashed, I was so programmed, believing that there was no way out, that I was always going to be abused, that that's what I deserved because of what happened to me as a child. So when you talked about traumas, Aaron, that when it all piles up, when it all comes to you in one swoosh and you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do with my life? I messed it up. I shouldn't have done that. You could feel that sensation of wanting to go crazy. But when you have amazing teachers, like in your case, what you do, or you have guides like us that can say, listen, we went through that, do your breathing, remember it's done, but now we're going to help you how to face who you are right here, right now, so that the future doesn't mirror what you have in the past. Because if we sit here in this present moment and we keep beating ourselves up, the self-talk is very negative, and we see it as, why did I do that? Instead of, okay, what can I do from this day forward to not repeat it again? How can I really learn this lesson and use this meditation to help me cope with things that come physically, like anxiety, depression, when you face that mirror and now you're, oh no, you know, that anxiety feeling of, I could have done better, I could have done different. So that's what we do with our courses and our classes, is to kind of guide them, hold their hand, if you will. But the person who is coming into the meditation needs to do their own work.
yes. And one thing I would like to add to that is that, you know, doing self-work on yourself, this is like the most crispest that I could cut the illusion is, and it's real. Let me just say, for the people that are experiencing it, it's real. So when I say illusion, let me just say that, you know, if you're experiencing it, you know, you've manifested that illusion and it's real. But what you do with that is your power, is your responsibility, it's your opportunity. Look at this as an opportunity, not like, oh my gosh, because it's how you look at it. Perspective is so powerful. If you look at it like, oh my gosh, I got to fix things, then you're going to continue to feel broken and you're always going to think you got to fix things. But if you go into self-work and look at it like an opportunity, intentionality is so important. What we do is with intention, being conscious and present in what we do. So self-work is the greatest benefit of self-work is you get to program talk about manifestation. You get to program your life. If you don't do the self-work, you're being programmed. I cannot put it any other way. If you're not doing the self-work, you're part of being in the program. You're part of being programmed. I mean, think about when you watch TV, it affects you. You're being programmed. So when you do the self-work, the greatest freedom you're gifting yourself is to program your life, to live your life by design.
You know, that's interesting how you mentioned TV and, you know, being programmed. When I was younger, what's that?
This is a good program.
Yeah. When I was younger, I didn't really have trouble watching TV or sitting there for, you know, a couple hours. But now after working on myself, meditating and doing all these things, I find myself feeling a little anxious when I'm sitting trying to watch a movie or, you know, a show. Sometimes I feel like I need to do something else besides that. Or I'll get a little, I don't know, like a
Or if the movie might be
anxiety,
like a little like if there's like
harsh.
violence or trauma, like stuff like that, it's
I feel my body just like tensing up and I'm like, this doesn't feel good. And I choose to watch other things that make me feel good because then it's like, why am I going to watch something and I'm not feeling good watching it?
yeah, we've changed like our whole genre of
Yeah.
things that we watch here in the house, especially with our daughter too, because of what TV, music, and like the
Mhm.
vibrations of all of these things and what that does into our subconscious mind. And I maybe the awareness is as because we have been meditating, we've opened up a lot on the inside, is that we can actually feel what these things are doing to us because it's a contrast of energy. And I've experienced it sometimes. It's hard for me to watch some of these like old like war movies or things like that, you know, even though they're really, really good. But
Mhm.
the feeling of it is so much different now. And I was like, "Ah, I used to like this movie, and now it's like really uncomfortable." And I see her getting uncomfortable, and then we don't want to have our daughter watch this too, like because think about what kids are watching these days and what they're being programmed to, and we've all gone through it. It's just what do we choose to, and then we
Yeah.
choose to make a change.
Can I share something?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Let me repeat something because I'm even being coached to remember this, right? See, we're all being mentored and coached.
Always.
Let me add something to that because when we ask for permission, it's like we don't believe that we have that permission. So just for the viewers, I'm being very vulnerable right now. That when I ask for permission, that tells me I got to work on something because we have the permission already to be ourselves. We shouldn't ask for permission to be ourselves. So that right there, I hope I served there by my own, falling on my face because it's get back up. Don't beat yourself up. Get back up. Just like Aaron, pushed the wrong button. There's people that push the wrong button. Oh my gosh, I'm such a screw up. Why did I do that? I always do that. They go into this dialogue. Aaron's like, oh, I just pushed the button. Well, guess what? I got so many buttons right now. I'm just having fun, right? That's how we get to see it, right? So the one thing that you said, Aaron, that I would love, to add to that is coming from a very dark, very conflicting and dense past. It was so beautiful to me in the moment. And I mean that with all my heart. Like, I loved it. I loved, in even saying it today, it's like, how, right? But knowing more of what I know, it's like, and this is the easiest way to explain this, it's when we're watching TV, I always recommend to our students that when you're getting emotionally invested, look away. Immediately, look away. That's consciousness. When you're watching TV and you're feeling like, oh, like this or whatever, just then come back to the show. Because you'll see the power in consciousness. That's a good exercise, right? The second part is that when you look at the soul's experience, this is why I say that, and we do what we do, is when you mature in consciousness, there is no positive or negative anymore. There is no duality. The more you mature your consciousness, and for those of you just beginning, there's nothing wrong with where you are. Just start loving every part of your experience. And I'm not saying love it to go back to it and say, oh, well, Michael said I love it, so I'm just going to go do what I did all the time. I'm not saying with that love. I'm saying with love, with the awareness that, you know what, thank you for that experience. How do I transform myself into more of my genuine nature? So the more you evolve, and you can't evolve without involving yourself in the experience. Many people are waiting to evolve. But if we look at nature, it's the animals that evolved in the process. Solve yourself in your progress. in your experience. Because when yourself in your progress and your experience, you're into a positive aspect of you, because you're going to see as everything as an experience, because everything are events. Events are just events. They don't have their positive, they don't have their negative. They're just events. Your perspective puts the color, the texture, flavor in your experience. So when you your soul, you can be going through a crisis and let me breathe. Oh, that was a blood crisis instantly transforms. This is where we are blessed as soul, teaching our, not teaching, our human selves how we are.
Interesting. Yeah, as we're going back, one last thing, then we'll kind of move on past the whole movie analogy concept.
Oh, wait. It's a little glitchy. Huh?
Yeah, you caught up a little bit now, so we're good right now. It was glitchy just a second ago, but I think the internet finally caught up to our vibrations.
So everything you just said, can you repeat it again? Just kidding.
Take 2.
Got it right here. Oh, I live it. And see, that's the beauty about living it, is you can repeat it 1,000 times. They might come out different, but they go
always vibration.
And I know that you and Veronica, Aaron, you live, because we can have these conversations all day, and they'll be so similar every time we share them.
Absolutely. That's what we're telling you guys that are watching now, that we had actually done this interview previously, but it's a completely different interview because we're asking different questions because we're in the moment. We actually, we know so much more information about them, but like the information doesn't get old. We could have repeated the same exact questions, repeated the same wording, but it's through the repetition of us learning something is when it really sinks in. Like, we can speak words. You guys are hearing us right now, and we can tell you we've had these experiences. You should do this, step 1, step 2, step 3. But that's only intellectual knowledge that's coming in. Until you have the full experience, it's the experience that really teaches you. So we, in our meditations, I have my own experience. Veronica has her own experience. You guys have your own experience. And I think this is for, at least coming from when I was beginning at this, and those who might just be getting into it or wondering more about meditation, is when, Michael, you mentioned, don't try to force it, try to feel. Like, what am I supposed to feel? I'm sitting here with my eyes closed, and then I don't feel anything. And that's what a lot of people tend to go through in the beginning, right? And am I supposed to like get this like big flashing light? I heard this one person said, oh, they saw all these colors, and they were in this like nirvana, and they were all over the place, and they were trying to compare themselves to that person's experience. But a spiritual experience, just even being relaxed, is different for everybody. And in the last thing I was going back and coming back around to the point of how the movies change and the practices of trying to be disconnected from the emotion. We were at our temple a few months ago before COVID, before they shut down, and one of the monks was speaking, and he was having this conversation about where he wanted to practice. And this is a seasoned monk who's been training for over decades, and he was saying that I wanted to see if I can disconnect from the movie. So he said he wanted to go see the movie 1917, which is a World War I movie. Phenomenal movie, by the way. But he wanted to go see that one in the theaters. He's like, a monk's going to go see a war movie. But his concept was he wanted to go see, can I watch the movie and not be connected to it and stay disconnected, because life is just a movie, is what they say. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. First met my wife, she helped me in a very powerful way. But even life looks like a movie to me. I don't know if but it's like I see myself watching the movie. I've always, ever since I was young, and I thought I was crazy. I thought there was something wrong with it. Oh, thank you guys. You guys just blessed me with a gift. See how this works? The reason why I experienced life as a movie, because when I was young, I said, no pain, no gain. So I was disconnecting myself so I can experience without experiencing, because that's why I was able to go through all of that. And it never affected me in the sense that I didn't go crazy. So many people that live the life that I lived. And just so you guys know, for those of you watching this video, I was on my own. I was my one-man army. I didn't have friends. I thought I had friends, but I was all by myself. So if you feel like you're by yourself, you're not by yourself. Now more than ever, you have Veronica, you have Aaron, you have so many people here to serve you, to love you, you know. And the last thing that I want to say is, when you were sharing about the monk, is it's funny that you mentioned that. I'm the total opposite, because I believe that life, and just like when I don't like shows up, instead of running from it, it's like, okay, where is this showing up for me? To not take a personal responsibility, it's 20, but to mirror in it, where I take that responsibility, because they're my blessing to transform within me, that they're showing up as my teacher. Like, life is our mirror, life is our teacher, and life will tell you, because it's always showing you where to calibrate yourself. It's always showing you what to let go and what to allow. This is the beauty of life. So, I say that, I surrender, as life is my greatest guru, because it's a reflection of the guru within, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's very interesting how go back to, like, oh, this is what happened when I was a child, and this is how I would see things. And um, I did a similar thing. I still do to this day. Is I zone out, and I'll be looking at something, and my eyes get blurry, and I just go into it. Just feels good, like a real
Yeah.
sense of peace within. And I'm looking like at nothing, but it looks like I'm focusing on something.
I'll be doing something and I'll look at Veronica. She's like,
But it's a really good feeling on the inside, like everything just goes away.
but it's like
You know what, Bernie?
it's like a mind meditation, right? It's disconnecting from our
Yeah.
physical body and being in tune outside of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what you shared, Veronica, this is what, and I've heard it from Sadhguru. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Sadhguru, but I
Yeah.
highly recommend listening to it. Sadhguru talks about, what we're here to meditate on is the intelligence of life. That's the greatest manifestation, abundance, love, life. Because when you awaken the intelligence within you, because it's already being, like, every single part of you is intelligent, every single part of you. So when you awaken life, you awaken intelligence within you. And when you awaken intelligence within you, everything is gold. You turn everything into gold. It's like you got that Midas touch. So Veronica, when you were sharing that, you just look and you just zone out. You just feel this? It's because you are seeing the love, the gold, the brilliance of you, and you're getting zoned out deeper within you, but your senses are making you think you're out there. It kind of feels even confusing when you're experiencing, because, like, wait a minute, why am I so zoned, but I feel so great? Because really, it's like you're inside thinking you're looking outside, but you're really looking inside. And I do that all the. I love it. I tell people, what's my greatest drug? I went from a drug addict, and I'm still a drug addict. But my greatest drug is life. My greatest drug is consciousness. And I get so high off life that I want to ask the viewers, get addicted to you. Get addicted to life, because you're always going to be addicted to something. But what you're looking for is getting addicted to you. You're remembering to come back home, because that's the greatest stimulant and that's meditation.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Awesome. So one final question before we wrap up our show today. And so we talked about a lot of things, from what meditation is and what things could do. We shared both of our stories here on for everybody here that is watching. And there's people right now that are going through some of that internal pain. They are hiding from themselves. They may not know that there is an out, and they might even be thinking, I want to check out of here. And some people feel the only way to check out is through ending their own life to get back to that spirit. And as talking here today, that we can connect with that again and remove ourselves from that pain. And for someone who might be going through that might realize, hey, there is no way out for me. I have to do this. They might be struggling and realize, hey, I'm alone. There's no one here. What would be the first step? 'Cause we've all been there at some point. What's that first step that someone can take to help them move closer to this process of finding themselves? And I'll leave it for which one of you wants to answer that.
Go ahead, Michael.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay.
Actually, sorry, I'm going to facilitate this. I want to let Alice, you go. You have something you want to say. I want to let you bring that out.
Well, I only have 1 minute to deal with it, but I will say this. even though everything looked beautiful on the outside in my life. And sometimes you're in a place where people might even question you. What are you so upset about? Or why are you so sad? Why would you even go there? You have everything for you. You have a family, you have a career. You know, most people are in that kind of place. There's all different situations that take us to that moment of saying, I'd rather end it here and now. And many times I had thought of it. And it is a very scary place when you're there and you feel alone. So meditation, what can really help you is to know that you're never really alone. When you are with yourself, when you can love yourself and sit with yourself and say, you know what? Yes, so it looks very bleak on the outside. Sometimes it feels like there is no end to the pain, but you will use that pain to love yourself more and say, there's a reason for this. Because checking out, you're just going to start all over again. You know, it's never going to end. So really just love yourself, as cliche as that sounds. Find something within you that can help you say, you know, I'm here for a reason. It's not all really that bad. And people tend to want to gravitate to the negative, to the dark, and say, why did I do those horrible things? But you're here. You're here today. And if you're listening to video, you're here for a reason.
One thing I would like to add to that, and I just noticed that it says Sanati. So
Oh.
yeah, we're Sanati.
See what happens? Oops.
It's so good.
The sea is Sanati.
You know the Latin word for sana? It means heal, to heal.
Sana. Yes. Hey, there it is, right? The thing that I would like
But we could change it for you.
I will we'll change it. We are live, so we'll do what we can. But you just pointed that out. But you see, it's interesting because life, it's okay for us to make mistakes sometimes. We're going to have typos in our life. Veronica does all my editing for me. She didn't edit that, so that's why it says Sonati. But we go with it because it's the message, right?
And look what it opened up. See, this is the thing. And this is part of the message that I was going to share is, look what it opened up. A mistake opened up humor and beauty and love because it wasn't a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
It was purposeful. So the one thing that I desire to share to that question, if I may, may I add to that?
Please, go ahead.
Well, there I go asking permission.
See, there
again.
you go.
But it's because you are the facilitators, right?
Practice.
And to respect your audience and your time. The one thing I can't comment.
No, we can't. I don't either. I don't know how.
One thing that I would like to add is, first of all, ask who is talking. You think it's you talking to yourself, but it's really the pain. So when you distinguish who is the one talking and who is the one listening is the more powerful than the one talking. So second is I would ask you to distance yourself from that experience. It is proven that those that, say in their lives, they don't have a resource. When you have that thought, and let me just be very clear on this. We've all thought, every single person has thought to kill themselves in one way, shape, or form or another. You're not alone. And the reason why I think so get to that extent is because there's not a lot of transparency in the world, and they think there's something wrong with them. They think they're an exception. Mm-hmm. So really, to the viewer listening to this, you're not an exception. We all have our challenges, our conflicts. It's what you do with it that counts. And the thing about it is in that moment when you have that thought, if you're not able to grasp something divine, something magnificent within you, I do this, like to say grab, but to really awaken something within you, then I ask you to do the next best thing in that moment. Find something of a resource. Go walk around in a park. Go admire nature. Find someone, call someone. Open up a book. Make sure you have as an emergency. Right now, put in your list that you're going to buy a book as an emergency that's going to remind you of you, because that's what you need in that moment. Mm-hmm. So put on your list that you're going to go to the store tomorrow or today or whenever you can and buy a book like Yogananda. Buy something that's going to remind you how beautiful you are, because it's in those moments that you prepare yourself. It's in those moments that when you have a resource, your brain will shock and you will come back to yourself. So you are not alone. You got this. Just ask yourself, who is telling me this? Because we're so quick to believe this that we don't listen to the heart. Well, let me say it for audio. We're so quick to believe the head that we very rarely listen to the heart. And that's why you have these thoughts. It's not you. So take the time to really discern who you're listening to and who is speaking.
Wow, love that.
Thank you.
I know you guys have your programs that are going on. How can people reach you and learn more about what you guys are doing?
Well, I know you're going to be able to share the links, but for us, Facebook works really well right now. That's the biggest platform we use, that, and Instagram. You could always call us. We prefer Messenger or a text only because when we're in places like this, we can't answer when we're in a class. So it does work. Messenger works really well for me. But on Facebook, and if you don't mind, you can share the links when
It's
we
really
share.
simple. Facebook.com/Samadhi School. Samadhi with an
The
M. Just for
M.
Facebook.
Samadhi, not Sanati. SAM. In fact, I'll had it up here, but I'll have this is their website, samadhiseaofwisdom.com. You guys can go there, find about their work as well. All the links will be here in the description. It should already be there from all your Instagram pages. So those of you who are watching the replay, it's all down here if you want to connect with Michael and Alice. And we want to thank you guys so much for being here again with us on the show. It's been such a blessing and such a great message for you guys to share with our with everybody today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would like to thank everyone watching this, because it wasn't just Veronica, Aaron, Michael, and Alice. Any of you watching this video, you contributed. You contributed with your energy by being here.
Thank
And your
you.
thoughts, your intentions were heard. So thank you. Thank every single one of you. But of course, thank you, Veronica and Aaron, for opening up the opportunity of this space to really, help humanity be served.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
Awesome. Again, thank you guys for being here today. And you guys just reach out to Michael and Alice, meditate, and do all these things. And guys, thank you so much for being here. And we hope you have a blessed day.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of Manifestation Mindset with our special guests, Michael Post and Alice Sinohui, and with Samadhi, Sea of Wisdom, not Sanati, but Samadhi. See, there's always blessings in the mistakes, because sometimes in our mistakes, there is the blessing. And we have to be able to see that. And that is the key thing when we are working on our inner self, is that it's okay for us to make those mistakes.
And mistakes, they help us to grow. So that's the only way we learn.
And the show must always go on. And so if you guys enjoyed today's episode, make sure, if you have not done so already, subscribe here to the channel. And if you like the video, again, give us a thumbs up here on the video and click that little bell so you guys can get reminded each time when we have a new video posted, which is every Tuesday and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And we will see you guys next time.
All right. Have a great day.